Greetings all, Dr. Raphael X here with another video with returning guest, special guest, Charles Fraune. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, before anything else, let us begin with the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Very good. As a foundation, remembering our baptism. And we're here to talk about a very recent book that Charles is going to have published, or has it published already, actually. It's just very recently published on Halloween, and I thought it was apt that we get this video in 2 days before Halloween, so thank you for coming on. And the name of the book is published by Slaying Dragons. Check the description below to get the book. Not exorcising, Exorcising Halloween, a guide to sanctifying the season. All right, so the number one question, of course, is obviously we kind of know what brought you to. I think my viewers know your background a little bit,
Mhm.
which you can bring to the forefront in kind of why you wrote this book. But basically, what are we exorcising Halloween of? And yeah, what are we purifying Halloween of? How do we make it back authentically Catholic? Because you talk about the Triduum very aptly, how the All Hallows Eve Triduum starts with Halloween, that Holy Triduum, which we need to recuperate.
Yeah, so I try to be very careful with the title for the books and the cover art. You know, the cover art sometimes is tough to make it really match the title. But the title and the subtitle really scream what the book's about. So I don't think it really took too long to come up with Exorcising Halloween. It came to my mind and like, is that? Yes, that will communicate what I want. So the first chapter, I don't know if it's the introduction or the first chapter. So the book is in pre-order. It's probably going to come out on Amazon early next week, and then all the pre-orders will be fulfilled about 2 weeks after that, because through my store. So for your audience, right now it's available through slayingdragonspress.com. So this is one of my own publications and one of my own books. But exorcising Halloween. So one of the things in the rite of exorcism that the priest is doing is he's reclaiming the dignity and reaffirming the dignity of the person who's possessed. And you see this in the language. He actually throws back the image of man, man is the image of God, at the demon, telling the demon essentially, be afraid of man. He's made in the image of God. So one of the things the priest is doing is getting the demon off of and out of the man so he can be the child of God that God wants him to be. So the same thing with Halloween. Halloween is a sacred day. It means All Hallows Evening. It's the vigil for All Saints, which used to be, this is important, used to be on the calendar. It was abolished with the 1955 reforms, unfortunately. But so Halloween is sacred. It is part of a triduum, like you're saying, part of the beginning of a whole month dedicated to some really important spiritual realities about death, judgment, heaven, hell, purgatory. But the culture has just attacked Halloween. That's a big theme in my book that I talk about. So we need to get the culture off rather than abandoning Halloween to the dark forces. We need to get them to go away and reclaim it.
Right, right. Now, kind of getting into, because I know in prior videos and in other books, actually, you've mentioned how the occult has had strong influence in Halloween and how it's kind of shaped Halloween now. But is there a danger of the other extreme because of, let's say, Puritanism, for example? Because a lot of people say, oh, that's a Protestant condemnation of Halloween that has seeped into Catholicism. Is there
Mhm.
that other extreme, or how does it look like concretely, actually, is kind of the question. Like what practices should we not be engaged with in Halloween? Or are there some of these occult practices which can be latent, or underlying, that they have some type of evil there?
Mm. Yeah, this is the big dance in a sense we have to do with Halloween right now.
Yeah.
It's like what's good, what's bad, where did this come from? Why are we doing this? And you don't want to go so Puritan. Like I watched 3 videos, skimmed them, or put them on like double speed of former occultists, former Satanists, former witch, psychic, talking to Protestant channels. And their advice about Halloween was total Puritan. Just reject the whole thing. The whole thing's cheating on God. I'm like, no, no, you should be smarter than this. Like, you don't even know what the word means, Halloween. So we can't go full Puritan. There's even a statement, so a lot of good Catholics go too far and demonize the word Halloween. And I think this is a very important piece, the semantics. Like Halloween is a sacred term, but it's been so run through the mud. Like we just don't even, we have this reaction to the word, which we need to recondition. Because it uses the word hallow, just like in the Our Father, hallowed be thy name. It's an old English word for holy. So the biggest chapter in my book is the last one. I think it's like chapter 18 is solutions and I can't remember the word, but solutions. So what should we do? So solutions and perspectives. So I go through perspectives, practices, activities, prayers to refocus on what the feast is all about. A lot of things that we do are innocuous or just like fun, bobbing for apples, carving pumpkins. But a lot of the symbolism has been lost. So the orange and black, and we're still perfecting this research. Orange and black, like for All Souls Day, which is part of Halloween. Halloween is looking towards All Souls Day. The priest would wear black, and the black would have trim with gold or white, and the gold can be darker, and then you have this orange and black concept, and then also the candles at All Souls Day. I'm still figuring out the details because no one talks about this, and I think it's part of the old rite, which a lot of these things have been lost and shouldn't have been lost, but the candles are unbleached. And unbleached candles have a darker yellow, not quite orange, but close to orange. So the black and orange, which we see a lot with Halloween, comes from, you could argue it comes from fall too, with the leaves changing colors, but there is a basis for those two colors from the Catholic practices. And I think if that's recovered, then that has meaning. So we can purify the symbols of their meaning and also infuse Catholic meaning into some of these gentle symbols like the black and orange and the pumpkins.
Right, right. I saw a mass on video. I think it was a Requiem mass, or at least it appeared to be a Requiem mass with the orange and black. I guess it was done within that Triduum, which is yeah, it's really telling. And it's interesting how only the Catholic holidays are have this paganization, which shows that Satan is really attacking where the truth is, which is fascinating. But getting to, I don't know if you saw Tim Gordon's video. I don't know. He interesting position. He said, no, you have to be spooky on Halloween. Like the spookiness is necessary. It's actually rooted in Catholicism. One of the for example, the traditions that I've read actually, I think I read in an article like trick or treating, for example, was done where you went, you trick or treated, and you actually asked the people that if you got a treat, you would pray for their dead, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of these practices had become pagan, but what's interesting is that through inculturation, which the Jesuits were master at, they can kind of be reclaimed. And even if they had pagan origins, it's not true that they can be, if they're not incompatible with the faith, they can be Christianized. They can come over to the light side, if you will.
Oh yeah. I mean, if there's nothing intrinsically evil about the symbol or about the thing or about the song or the dance or the melody or whatever in a culture, the church can Christianize it, take it up because if it's good, it's good and it can be elevated. Good things can be elevated to higher things to serve supernatural purposes. One of the exorcists I interviewed for this book, he pointed out the piñata, and something I never knew that the piñata was designed by Spanish missionaries coming to the New World, to Mexico, as a means of evangelizing and teaching them about virtue and the dangers of Satan's kingdom and vices. And this is often done during like close to Christmas. That was one of the origins, but we could definitely do it now. But like so this is a symbol. So they created a symbol because they saw that the indigenous Mexicans were very sacramental, like sacramentalized. That was just part of their culture. They love stuff and the meaning of stuff. So the church is like, well, let's make some stuff that's good and can bring in the symbol. So the piñata has seven horns traditionally, and those are the vices, the seven capital sins. You put a blindfold on because we walk by faith, not by sight. And they hold a stick. Sorry, hit the microphone. They hold a stick, which is the virtues and or the I don't know, the Christian life. I can't remember the exact word, but then you smash it. And then when you destroy the vice symbolized there, rewards in this life and in the next pour out. This candy, this reward comes from developing virtue, serving God faithfully. So yeah, we can create new symbols to teach, because that's what they're all for, is to teach. And we can also sanctify things that are already there and bring them up to a new purpose. But really, Halloween, it gives us a challenge because the culture has gone so dark and
Yes,
so
yes.
crazy. It's just hard to wrestle with, scares a lot of people away.
That's right. This kind of brings me on to, because a lot of people ask very concrete questions, costumes. So is it, or decorations? And I saw you mentioning in a prior video that they are getting dark. But isn't there kind of like, in the sense that the spookiness is good in the sense of making fun of it? Because there's an exorcist who said that what the devil hates most is not so much a rejection of him, but when he's made fun of, when it's almost laughed at.
Yeah.
So can Halloween, like for example, I saw this decoration of a very popular one of a witch crashed into a tree, and she's kind of like splat there on a tree. What do you think about that? Kind of the spookiness, but
Mhm.
instead of taking it serious, which we tend to do because of our fallen nature, the concupiscence, evil as an eye candy, all that, instead of seeing that as being fascinated by it, attracted by it, making light of it, having fun with the spookiness, and do you see any danger in that? Or
Yeah, I think that's one of the debates right now. Although there are two debates. Like, is it okay to dress up like, Superman or Batman or a
that's
cowboy? Like, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with those
right,
figures. I mean, Superman represents something good. A cowboy's just a job of dressing up like a plumber. Is there any? So there's no problem with those, but there's no point. So I think one of the things I'm trying to bring to focus on, and I do in the book a little bit on this issue, is let's go back to the heart of Halloween. Like, what is the liturgy about? There's Christ the King, there's All Saints Eve, there's All Saints or All Souls the whole month. Like, what is the point? Let's go back to the point because we've lost the point. We live in a very secularized culture, world, a church that has really just kind of dropped the ball in catechesis. People are just drifting aimlessly, and the occult is rising and hijacking our feast days. So I think instead of being reactive against and almost like we should start we should like table the culture. What the culture is doing with Halloween is just put it over here, and let's start with who we are as Catholics. What are these feast days? What's the point of the feast days? And let the customs grow out of that. I think if we do it that way, it almost answer a lot of the questions that people have about Halloween without those questions even having to be asked. Because if you reconvene with like why the church has this feast, well, dressing up would probably like saints, angels, maybe a ghost if you can do it in a way, because a ghost is a soul from purgatory,
right,
or a demon trying to deceive you. But the spooky, so the spooky is one of the debate points because the spooky can bother people, it can scare people and scar people. I mean, in a negative way. It could also make people like, whoa, I'm going to die someday. This is serious stuff, and that's one of the points of the feast. But some people might get scarred by it in a negative way. So it depends on how you do the spooky. So yeah, spooky. Like if a soul from purgatory were to show up tonight, like while I'm getting ready to go to bed and saying a little prayer, or that would be spooky. It would catch me off guard. I'm like, whoa! But then the soul from purgatory would not try to harm me or scare me. The spooky would just be in the encounter, but not in the fruit of the encounter, just the initial encounter. If it was a demon, he's there to hurt me, scare me, you
right,
know, haunt me, like all kinds of bad things. So, the witch crashing into the tree, I mean, maybe because there is that tradition of mocking. And one
right,
of the exorcists I interviewed talked about mocking. But some people in the culture now just don't get it. Some Catholics, like, I don't understand how to mock without feeling rude, or, mock the symbol, not the person. There's probably a way to do it. But again, I think if we go back to the core and let the customs regrow, we may take some that are already existing and purify them and bring them in. Like, this is good, this is good, this is good. But I feel like that might be the best way to get back to the heart of it and answer some of these questions in the process.
right, right. I guess it's not that orderly without an end, because sometimes I do, like with my family members and my kids, I play a lot of tricks on them and things like that. So I can see the fun part, but again, yeah, of course, that goal there, that transcending goal should not be lost, of course, in Halloween, which is we can't just be kind of we can't descend ourselves down to the pagan level of kind of, the means becomes the goal itself. So yeah, that for sure. That for sure. What are some what do people misunderstand about Halloween we kind of addressed this a little bit, but on both extremes, what is misunderstood about it? And I also wanted to tell you that, and why is this with like Latin American culture and even in Spain and Europe? Maybe not in the rest of Europe, but in Spain, I know traditional priests, and they just outright reject Halloween. I don't know if this is more of a Germanic, in kind of like in the English world, where we know better the traditions of it. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I really think, I mean, there definitely seems to be a cultural divides. Like there's an article that I pulled into the book. I think I pulled it into another book. I can't remember, but I believe it was from 2019. Could have been later than that. National Catholic Register had a feature article about Poland trying to purify its Halloween customs because American USA customs had basically eroded the Catholic customs of Poland. And they wanted to purge, they wanted to exorcise Americanism out of Poland essentially on for Halloween and go back to the real Catholic customs with which are in a great book by Father Weiser called A Handbook of Catholic Customs. I think that's what it's called. But he has great details of all these old European cultures and what they did for Halloween, All Saints, All Souls, the month of November. So Poland is trying to reconstruct that. So I think each culture needs to be looked at differently because the Spain one, yeah, I don't really know exactly what their customs are, and maybe they're experiencing the same kind of a negative Americanizing of Halloween because we really have this paganization because it's from a puritanical culture and you push one extreme, you're going to get another one. So you have two,
Right.
like banishing Halloween, and now you get the occult, like, oh, it's ours now. Like this opportunism, this the great infrastructure, October 31st is a big cultural thing. Let's make it ours. No one else seems to care about it, but they're going through the motions with no meaning. So we're going to infuse our own meaning into it. Um, but yeah, I can't remember what your original question was, but that's my
Yeah,
tangent.
basically, you kind of answered it. How is it misunderstood? Like,
Mm.
yeah, basically, it's either pagan or it's yeah, how do yeah, basically, it's really it's misunderstood on one side. That basically they don't people don't understand the Catholic roots of it. So that's yeah, that's important. Um, but basically, how is there um is there kind of like a risk in for example well, actually, this is what I wanted to ask the original question. The Latin American question is there because I know there's a Santo Muerte, the Santo
Hmm.
Santa or La Santa Muerte.
Yeah.
Is there because that doesn't have Catholic roots, does it? Because some Halloween we want to exorcise it and get it and purify it back to its Catholic roots. But really, La Santa Muerte, and maybe this is where some of the Latin Americans, I think that comes from Mexico. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Hmm.
This is probably where they kind of associate Halloween with that. Does that have Catholic roots, or is that I don't know if you I think you spoke about that or written about that before.
Yeah, Santa Muerte. That did not make it into this book, Exorcising Halloween, but I almost put it in there. But then it's kind of its own monster. So I wasn't really addressing that. But I almost wrote a book on this. And actually, for
Hmm.
it, I was interviewing I don't know, he's a police officer, but I believe he's kind of a higher level than that. So I got connected with him, interviewed him a couple times on Santa Muerte. And when I told him about the book, he's like, yeah, I don't know if you should publish it
Hmm.
because of the Santa Muerte culture in the United States. And like he was in some kind of enforcement against that cult. So it's a cult. It's a folk saint, what they call him, a folk saint, Santa Muerte. I can't remember the origin now. I think it was like the late 1990s. There's some allusions to it throughout the 1900s. There's a connection back to some deity of the old Mexican world back to the 1700s. I haven't looked at my research in like a year or more, but it's evil. It's a skeletal mockery of Our Lady. That's the primary depiction, and it is a miracle working demon. I mean, the miracles that are claimed to be coming from this entity are just shocking. And I don't know if it's an exorcist or a leading anthropologist who studies this, I can't remember his name right now. He said November 2nd is almost becoming the official feast day of Santa Muerte.
Oh wow.
I'm like, that's just that's exhibits what's happening with Halloween. Like the more the church drops the ball and leaves this culture of death without any kind of meaning because the catechesis has failed, the next life without any kind of catechesis, then people fill it with this occult because everybody's searching. People in the occult, are in one sense guided properly because they're searching for the answer, but then they're misguided right after that first step into this crash and burn occultism. But they're looking for truth. That's why a lot of occultists convert because they're looking for the truth. Once they start hearing it and seeing it, they'll go that way. But like the Day of the Dead, some of those things are superstitious, some are not. Like if they leave food out, the favorite food of the person, because they think that person's going to come that night, walk around from the dead and eat it. Well, you've just perverted the whole idea. Like there are some folk customs in the history of the church where they believe the souls from purgatory do kind of wander, not aimlessly, but they do wander to churches or to Catholics on All Souls Day and around Halloween itself, asking for prayers. It's a very different thing than the occult portrayal of just the veil is pulled back, the veil is thin, the dead and the damned and the demons, everybody's walking around, you got to watch out. We don't believe that in any way, shape, or form, but that's one of the occult corruptions of it.
You know, it's fascinating because what you said, one extreme leads to another, and the extreme of this rationalist atheism, this secularism, the extreme of that is looking for spirituality without, right, the true religion, spirituality on one's own, which tends to turn, as we're seeing in Hollywood, we're seeing in entertainment, music, it's a very dark turn. So people
Mhm.
are interested. You're right, that underlying desire for the mystery, for spirituality. People are seeking it in a dark sense today. And you see this manifest in, like you said, Santa Muerte and Halloween. I don't know if you know the Anton LaVey, if I'm saying his name right, the founder of the Church of Satan. I believe he wanted to die on Halloween, and he actually didn't get to. Um, he was trying to survive up to the point he was dying, and I believe they wanted either to die or bury him on something on Halloween, and he didn't actually get to die on that day. But yes, Satanists have taken it over, and there's this belief that the which you have alluded to, and if you could talk a little bit more on that, the spiritual realm, we can perceive the spirits in a like there's the veil is thinner, if you will, or there's more manifestations of the spirit somehow on that day. Is that true?
So this is something I investigated, and the answer. So one of the things I positioned in the book is the veil is thin. This is where it would constrain to superstition. In one sense, it's correct. The veil is thin. So in what sense is it correct? So at All Saints and All Souls, the church opens up the treasury of merit, the treasury of satisfaction from the Christ, Our Lady, and the saints for indulgences. Special indulgences only available during the first 8 days of the month of November, All Souls Day being right there, are available. So in that sense, the veil being the separation between us and the church triumphant and the church suffering, becomes thinner. We're able to communicate, share the graces through the communion of saints much more effectively and much more abundantly. So in that sense, there is a communication, but not like in the occult superstitious sense where the veil's pulled back, you got to watch out because the dead, the damned, and whoever else just wandering around aimlessly, and it's kind of a dangerous, spooky time in that sense. But there are also, as I mentioned, folk customs that believed in certain countries that on All Souls Day or the night before, I can't remember which day exactly, that the souls from purgatory would show up in the church at midnight praying. They would occupy the church. It was safe. It was a safe thing. It was just they were there praying. Or they would come from the woods or be in the woods, but trying to get our attention. So we would pray for them. This whole concept of seeking our prayers. And the St. Thomas Aquinas talks about, and I have two appendices in the back talking about St. Thomas and this whole issue of the veil being thin.
Hmm.
He says very clearly that our Lord allows souls from purgatory to work out their purgation here on earth. So they can either be in the fires of purgatory or here on earth, seeking, even getting our attention, even showing up, as we know this can happen. So it makes sense that on the time when the church has opened her treasury during November, that God would allow them, it makes sense, that God would allow them to possibly be more present, get more attention, try to get more attention anyway, to get prayers, all for prayers. So there's nothing wrong with believing that maybe the souls in purgatory are more attentive right now. Because he also says that the souls from the damned souls can occasionally, very rarely, also appear among the living. And I have one account that is a popular ancient account from a book in the 1800s. I have that in the appendices as well. So there is some room there for a certain kind of concept of the veil being thin, but it has to be very carefully explained and understood so you don't go into superstition.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, in principle, I guess there are exceptions to it, but yeah, the souls in hell don't know, and I believe Aquinas said this also. They don't know what's going on on
Mhm.
Earth, basically. But there are accounts of exorcists who have said, I don't know how have they have known this to be true, that there have been people possessed. I think Gabriel Amorth has an account where they were possessed by a damn soul. I mean, I don't know how you the demon lies all the time, but I don't know how
Mhm.
he said that with affirmation. So it's interesting. And in scripture too is you have in Isaiah 14, the kings of the underworld rise up to greet the fallen Babylonian ruler. I mean, this is imagery, is
Mhm.
interesting, but yeah, there's in principle, is that right? There's really no communication with the damned souls. So if it's a
Right.
ghost, kind of like through a permission of God, it's a soul that's usually in purgatory.
Right. Yes, because in our Lord's parable of the rich man and yeah, the rich man and Lazarus. So they both die. Lazarus goes to Abraham's bosom, and then across the separation which no one can cross is the rich man. So he's in hell, not in purgatory, because there's no help. So there's a communication happening right there, but he's not leaving hell. No, and it's symbolic because the theology is clear from Abraham in that parable that no one can cross from our side to yours, and no one can cross from your side to
That's right.
ours.
That's right.
Whereas there is a communication, a communion with the souls in purgatory. They're part of the church. The damned are severed, permanently severed from the church. So the times when a damned soul appears, it's God allowing it, almost God doing it, rather than the damned soul having any say about it. And St. Thomas Aquinas says that the saints can choose to appear to us at will. But the souls from purgatory, I think, where is he talking about the damned souls? The others have to ask permission. There has to be permission granted
Right.
much more freely to the souls in purgatory, obviously.
Right, right. Well, that's very fascinating. All right, well, kind of respecting the time, I'll give you this last question, which if you learned anything or what kind of surprised you the most in your research or writing the book. I know when you write books, you usually do interviews also. So what
Mhm.
is what have you learned or any takeaways?
Yeah, so this is a big one. I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, what did I have in my mind when I first set out to write this book? Because the book kind of morphed. And it's because of one statement from one of the exorcists where he talked, I can't even remember what he said. I want to go back to the interview so I can quote him. But it set me on this research about Freemasonry. And again, I wish I could remember what he said exactly. But so I researched Freemasonry. And the popes for the last 300 years, back to 1770 something, Pope Clement, one of the Pope Clements, was the first one to condemn Freemasonry. But the whole point is Freemasonry has been condemned as an enemy of the church for over 300 years, but their goal relates to Halloween. So it's in my book. I talk about it quite a bit. The goal of Freemasonry explicitly is to destroy the church, but to destroy the moral and religious order that the church has brought into the world, to undermine her feast days, to banish her from any kind of public presence. You saw this happening with Protestantism, where they started banishing Halloween, all the customs that came with Halloween, and All Souls and All Saints. And really, in a sense, Protestantism is connected to the errors of Freemasonry in one sense. And then you have a connection of Freemasonry to modernism, which is what Pope Pius X condemned in there just over 100 years ago. But one of the things that was really struck me was okay, so undermining the authority of the church, undermining the public presence of the church, undermining her festivities, but then also Freemasonry's goal, according to Pope Leo the 13th, I think it was, he was the one who said it, is to bring back the customs and manners of paganism. What
Hmm.
has been destroyed by the church for 18 centuries, this Pope said, Freemasonry is trying to bring back. And then you have a connection of all of Freemasonry to all of the modern occult movements. So when
Hmm.
you put that all together, and then the occult is targeting Halloween, like, wow, this is almost like a conspiracy. This is not just some random corruption of a feast day. This is a big
Wow.
deal.
Talk about two extremes attacking the harmonized, the sound middle position, because Freemasonry, I mean, they're naturalists. So it's like
Hmm.
that's craziness. That's crazy how the devil attacks the truth from all sides. Well, awesome. It was awesome having you on. I appreciate it. I know you have a short amount of time, and Well, the description, guys, check in the description for the link to get his book. Fascinating book. Check out his other books too, which are really good. You can't put them down because they're just fascinating and awesome, Charles. So thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and God bless you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. God bless you too, and oh, happy Halloween almost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 2 days. All right. Take care now.